Good evening and welcome to the first in a new series, Do It at DIT. I'm Jeff Ferguson, and over the next 12 weeks we'll be finding out just what goes on behind the impressive but inscrutable facade of Dundee Institute of Technology. Each week we'll report on the advanced research work going on in DIT's departments. There'll be a news bulletin to keep you in touch with what the students and staff are up to, and we'll have a weekly quiz building up to the grand final when the two best teams will slug it out for the championship. Tonight, our reporter Jimmy Black visits mechanical engineering, where staff are developing a machine to help arthritis sufferers and others regain the movement in their hands. But first, we meet the Institute Principal, Professor Bernard King. Over the past year or two, DIT has been campaigning to be given the title of university, like its counterparts in Paisley, Aberdeen, Glasgow and Edinburgh. Jimmy asked why the Institute was so keen to be a university, when everyone in Dundee knows it affectionately as the Bell Street Tech.
When the central institutions were established by what was then called the Scotch Office, the inverted commas are mine rather than theirs, it was called the Scotch Office at the time. This institution was created as an industrial university, along with the now universities of Heriot-Watt and Strathclyde. So, as a university, well, we've been around with the universities, the technological universities of this country since the beginning of the century. We are no different to any other university institution in Scotland, except for the name. Bell Street Tech, it's a delightful phrase, used affectionately by the population of Dundee for many years. We can stay as the Bell Street Tech. In terms of affection, we've always been a university, and we expect to get university title sooner rather than later.
So in fact, you're doing research and development here, which is of a standard, with the same kind of standard as Dundee University or other universities throughout the world.
The quality of the research of this institution, and you will see it, is well recognised in national and international circles. If you look at our wastewater research centre, if you look at our mechatronics provision, if you look at our Scottish Institute for Wood Technology, if you in fact look at the Dundee Business School, you'll see the calibre and quality of our materials is really quite good. We will be marketing, for example, MBAs in China, Hong Kong, Malaysia in the next few months. Clearly, external markets see us as being international competitors.
I think that might be a surprise to many people in Dundee who don't really realise what goes on behind these walls. What kind of exciting opportunities are there for students in Dundee Institute of Technology?
The Institute has a student population at the moment of about 3,200, although we expect it to be somewhat greater this year. All of our courses are designed in conjunction with industry. Industrialists and commercial organisations are involved in the approval of our courses and degrees. Our courses are designed to meet industrial and student needs. Clearly, our courses are designed to get jobs for our students. It's a thing that we're particularly proud of. So we've developed in this institution courses which meet direct industrial needs. For example, innovative courses in biotechnology, retail distribution management, environmental technology, European business law. I could go on and on about the ranges of courses that we offer, but I'm sure you'll cover many of these in some of your later programs.
Am I right in saying that you're an Irishman?
Indeed so, I'm from Dublin.
And what made you come all the way to Dundee of all places?
Oh, I've come to Dundee via a long route. Dundee is a place that I've worked in a previous incarnation as a lecturer, senior lecturer and head of department. I've come back to Dundee as principal because I think it's really a superb organisation with really high-quality facilities and high-quality staff, a reputation which is really good, a major employer in Dundee. It's a place that I'm really proud to be associated with.
Some positive thinking there from the principal, Professor Bernard King. Jimmy's next port of call was Forfar, where he spoke to Duncan McKenzie, who suffers from a hereditary hand condition. Recently, Duncan had an operation in Dundee Royal Infirmary to straighten out his fingers. Duncan agreed to be a guinea pig for a new machine being developed in DIT's mechanical engineering labs, which is designed to restore movement to the hand. Jimmy asked him to describe the device.
it would be quite unfair and inaccurate to describe it as a Heath Robinson type device, but it was incredibly clever. It was a contraption that activated your finger. They strapped your finger into the machine, and it had a moving part which moved the finger within limits, within predetermined limits, which could be altered, of course. It moved the finger backwards and forwards.
Was it a horribly painful thing to be attached to?
Not in the least, absolutely not at all. It wasn't the least bit uncomfortable, quite the reverse.
One of the engineers working on Duncan's hands was David Caeras, who was leading the development of the new machine. He explained the thinking behind it all.
Well, the history of the treatment of joints has been that joints should be kept immobile after injury or surgery. They should be typically put into plaster of Paris or bandages. But an unfortunate consequence of this form of treatment is that the joints stiffen up. The swelling in the joints tends to create a biochemical reaction on the soft tissues. Now, about 1970, a distinguished orthopedic surgeon named Robert Salter in Toronto University challenged the idea of immobilizing joints, and he introduced the idea of continuous passive motion, or CPM as it's known. And CPM is a facility of keeping joints under continuous movement. Now, he undertook a series of tests, and he convincingly proved that tissues, and joints in particular, recover much faster if they are kept mobile than if they are kept immobilized. So in 1970, with the initial tests, which he performed almost on his own in Toronto, from that time, we have now reached a stage where the concept of CPM is accepted worldwide. And there's, throughout the world, an increased interest in the development of CPM machines, primarily for the lower limb, but in our case, it's for the hand.
This machine looks very sophisticated, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything that I couldn't do if I attached a string to my big toe, another string to my pinky, and moved it gently back and forward. I mean, what is it really doing?
Well, the machine has got two sensors inside. One is a position sensor, so the machine knows where the finger is at all stages, and also a force sensor, which detects the magnitude of the force being exerted by the machine onto the fingertip. By monitoring the signals all the time, the machine is able to increase joint range of motion automatically.
David Caeras talking about DIT's efforts to bring relief to people with stiff joints. We'll take a break now, then we'll be back to hear about the career opportunities there are for mechanical engineering students. Welcome back to Do It at DIT. Mechanical engineering is involved in a whole range of industrial research. Jimmy asked Professor John Milne about some of the other work the department does and the career opportunities there are for students.
We've done national work in our boundary layer wind tunnel for Rolls-Royce at Derby on the RB211 engine compressor blade design. This particular project has supported a number of doctorate research programs.
Any other well-known companies that you've worked with in research and development?
Companies in the Tayside area that we've worked with in collaboration with some of the European institutions has been companies like NCR in Dundee, who are world leaders of the design and manufacture of autoteller machines, and companies like A.G. Russell in Arbroath that produce automatic assembly machines, mainly for the medical industry.
What about the students who come to Dundee Institute of Technology? Can they expect to be involved in any of this leading edge stuff?
Yes, we involve our students in such activities as case studies, project work, and a lot of this is actually industrially related.
Are the employment prospects of your graduates reasonably good?
Well, currently the job market for all graduates, not just in engineering, is depressed as a result of the recession. However, there are still good opportunities for graduates who are prepared to relocate or travel. As we come out of recession, I fully expect the demand for qualified mechanical engineers to increase.
So, for example, what kind of company might some of your students end up working for? And how much money might they earn?
Well, in the last 2 years, the mechanical engineering has actually rated the highest of all the outputs from the institute, and the typical average starting salary for graduates has been 13,200. Typical industries, local industries that have employed our graduates and diplomates in the past include people like NCR, Halliburton, the oil industry in Arbroath, some consultancy services, Rowtomead. National industries include British Aerospace, British Gas, Land Rover, Ventaxia, IBM, Ferranti, Weir Pumps and Logica, to name some of them.
One last question. A lot of people think that being an engineer is just a wee bit dull. Do you think it's dull?
It's something I think being an engineer, quite honestly, is you won't be watching the clock all day, you won't be bored. It's an exciting, I think, a job that is well rewarding, and quite honestly I think much better paid than it was in the past.
And now it's the quiz, and this week I'll be firing questions at computer science students, who are Stewart King, David Graeme, Graeme Melville and Denise Cooper. The idea is that they amass the highest possible score in their specialist subjects and in general knowledge. At the end of the series, we'll have the 2 teams with the most points back to compete in the final. First of all, we'll go into the specialist subject round of computing, then after that we'll do the general knowledge round. So you've got 2.5 minutes for each round, starting now. Who proposed a test for determining whether a machine can think? And it's Denise.
Turing.
Correct. What does WYSIWYG stand for? And it's Graeme.
What you see is what you get.
Correct. What is the binary code for 11? And it's Stewart.
1011.
Correct. How many bits are in a nibble? David.
4.
Correct. What was the first high-level language? And it looked like Denise had her hand up. Yes?
Guess. Algol 68.
No, it's Fortran. What is at present the most commonly used operating system? David.
DOS.
That's been accepted. MS-DOS, correct. What does RAM stand for?
Random access memory.
That was Graeme, correct. Who devised the stored program concept?
Don't know.
No, we don't know that one. It was actually John von Neumann. What does WIMP stand for? Denise?
Windows, icons, menus, and pointers.
No, it was actually Windows, icons, mouse, pull-down menus. What is a recursive procedure?
Oh.
David?
One that calls itself.
Correct. What Act of Parliament regulates the storage of information about individuals? Graeme?
The Data Protection Act.
That's correct. What is the term for the smallest definable point on a computer screen? David?
Pixel.
That's correct. What does IBM stand for? Graeme?
International Business Machines.
Correct. What does Pascal stand for? Are we going to have an answer here?
No.
Well, it's actually nothing, it's a name. When was the IBM PC introduced? We have now run out of time. It was actually in 1981. So at the end of the specialist subject round, you've scored 10 points. And now into the general knowledge round. You've got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, starting now. What is the unit of currency in Poland? No answers there. This is zloty. In the nursery rhyme Jack and Jill, what did Jack mend his head with? Denise?
Vinegar and brown paper.
Correct. Who was the Greek god of the sea?
Oh.
Denise?
Neptune. I don't.
No, it was Poseidon.
Yeah, 'cause it's Greek.
What actor had a musical hit with MacArthur Park?
Jimmy
Graeme?
Webb.
No, it was Richard Harris. In which Beatles film did Wilfred Bramble play Paul McCartney's grandfather? No, no guesses? It was A Hard Day's Night. Which town do the men of Dad's Army guard? Denise?
Warmington-on-Sea.
That's correct. Who wrote the novel The Shape of Things to Come? No, it was H.G. Wells. What are baffies in Scots? Right, all hands up. Graeme was first.
Slippers.
That's correct. Who became Prime Minister of the UK in 1946?
Don't know.
No, it was Clement Attlee. Which With which sport is Shirley Crabtree associated?
I'll try. Horse
Denise? No, it's wrestling. He's Big Daddy. Who invented the telephone? Graeme?
Alexander Graham Bell.
Correct. Which city is overlooked by Sugarloaf Mountain? Stuart?
Rio de Janeiro.
That's correct. Who wrote the musical Peter and the Wolf? No, Prokofiev. Who sang the theme of the Bond film For Your Eyes Only? Graeme?
Shirley Bassey.
No, it was Sheena Easton. In which hospital is the series Casualty set? Graeme?
Holby General.
Holby City Hospital. According to poet and writer John Milne, what was lost and then regained?
Paradise.
Correct. Which political party is led by Nelson Mandela? Denise?
The ANC, African National Congress.
That's correct. What racecourse stages the Lincoln? No, it was Doncaster. For what is Sir Alexander Fleming famous? Denise?
Penicillin.
Correct. Name a country which borders Tunisia. David?
Morocco.
No, Algeria or Libya. By what name is Alan Stewart Coningsburg better known? No, Woody Allen. In Neighbours, who plays Paul Robinson?
Don't know.
Somebody must know. Graeme?
Stephen Dennis.
That's right. Who created Winnie the Pooh?
A. Milton.
Denise?
A.
Yes, that was
Milne.
right. A. Milne. With what did Keir Hardie do of note?
It's to do with
Denise?
the Labour Party. Don't know what.
He founded the Labour
Yeah,
Party.
right.
What is the practice of training hawks called? And
Hawk.
Hawk
Graeme?
training.
Hawking.
It's actually falconry. And with that, we come to the end of the questions. And at the end of tonight's quiz, the computer science students have scored 21 points. So next week, the team from mechanical engineering will have that score of 21 to beat. And now, here's Brian Lindsay with this week's News Roundup.
Play before work. That seems to be the motto of the DIT first-year students. For the past 2 weeks, they've been indulging themselves in Freshers Fortnight with a host of entertaining events lined up by the Students Union. The fortnight kicked off last Monday with a ceilidh, which was packed out with willing, if not necessarily able, country dancers jumping around to an authentic local band. Wednesday saw the unfortunate return of flares, platforms and cheesecloth shirts to the Marketgait dance floor with the 60s and 70s disco. And Thursday was Bouncy Boxing Night, an innovative if somewhat bizarre form of boxing performed on bouncy castles, supposedly harmless, but somebody I hear did end up with a bloody nose. Last Friday night, I went along to the disco at the Marketgait Union and asked a few freshers how they'd spent their first week.
Right, I went to one Wednesday night, which I thought was really good actually. You know, the 60s and 70s disco.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we're having a good time, aren't we? Yeah! Yeah! And even the Scottish dancing went down well, come on.
Did you do it?
60s, 70s music, we moved, we lost weight. I go to the disco to meet the boys.
Did you meet any boys?
Not like the French boys.
No.
Freshers Fortnight ends this weekend with 2 big events in the Marketgait. Tomorrow night, the excellent River Detectives are playing live as part of their current tour. Sam Corrie of the band said their last Scottish tour in April was great and they were looking forward to this one even more. The band's set-up is different now and they're looking for a more acoustic feel. Saturday night is the big blowout, Blastaway night. A Blastaway, I am reliably informed, is a mixture of Castaway and Diamond White. Why don't you just hit yourself over the head with a hammer? Anyway, it ought to be great, and there'll be lots of freebies and prizes. And with that, I'll hand you back to Jeff.
Thanks, Brian. And that's all from us for tonight. Next week, Jimmy Black will be in the presenter's chair, and I'll be out and about in DIT, lifting the lid on the mysterious contents of the freezer in molecular life sciences. Until then, good night.